All right, Tom, start us off, and then we'll go to Matt Weaver.
Yeah, just want to begin by congratulating our soccer team. Big win last night and on to the Sweet 16. So great job, and wish them nothing but great things moving forward. I also want to recognize our players of the week that do a great job working hard for us. So defensive scout, Connor Holt, offensive scout, Will Larkins and Declan McMahon, and special team scout, Lincoln Murph. So really, really excited about this week. Great opportunity for our program with the old Oaken Bucket. So much tradition, so much has been put into this game for so many years, and so much pride in the outcome. So representing our whole university and fan base and state of Indiana here as we battle for a very prestigious prize. So big opportunity heading to West Lafayette to take on the Boilermakers. Questions?
Matt and Jack.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm okay. On that touchdown that Michigan State got right before the end of the first half, it looked like obviously Philip Dunham did not play the ball or make the play that you were looking for. He didn't play the rest of the game. I guess what was your message to him, and what kind of response have you seen from Philip in the days since that game?
Yeah, he chose to try to strip the football, which is something we do when you're the second or third defender at the point of attack. So obviously, I think it happened about the 15-yard line. So should have had him on the ground, and then, you battle to force him to kick a field goal. So pretty big mistake there. Really kind of, it's not what we teach and coach, and inexcusable. So felt like that, Josh Sanguinetti's played well, and so played him the rest of the way, and definitely was very open and honest with Phil about that, and he needs to respond. We'll see how that goes this week. But bottom line is that you got to do things the right way, and if you don't, then somebody's going to be there and take your job.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom, when you have a roster that has a lot of transfers like this year, guys that weren't here last season, what do you try to do this week leading into the Purdue game to try to teach them kind of the importance of this rivalry and maybe the history behind it?
Yeah, that's a great point. We started yesterday for that very reason with the 51-54, based on we've added a few additional walk-ons here in the last couple months after the season started to add more guys that weren't here a year ago. But so with all the new faces, Coach Deal, Mark Deal does a phenomenal job. His one word every single year is bucket. It's been that way ever since I've been here. So he is the most passionate person that I know regarding this. This game, the trophy that we play for. There's been 8 victories by the Deal family, most ever in the history of Indiana University football, that have been a part of winning the bucket between his dad and his brother and himself. So he does a great job. So we started yesterday. He gives the whole history of it, all the way back to the beginning, where it came from, the farm it came from, got pictures of that, just all the different parts of it, and just kind of giving our guys an education of that. And then he obviously puts his own flavor on it, which is very, very emotional and passionate. And then every single day this week, we're going to have a alumni video speaker that's going to challenge our guys about the bucket, and then with the video as well. So just constant every single day, just to continue to educate our guys and make them understand how big this game is.
Mason, then Seth.
Coach, kind of looking back at some of the games here down the stretch, it seems like going into the half or at the end of a half, really the defense has kind of struggled and given up a long drive that's really kind of swung the momentum going into half, or even at the end of the game. Michigan State scored that touchdown. I guess what needs to be better about the defense and finishing out a half, especially when it comes to kind of carrying that momentum forward?
Yeah, it's just absolutely what we emphasized yesterday. Obviously, it's been pretty apparent, in those last 2 games, without question, before the half, and how you finished the game, and had a chance to finish out the game with the win by just getting a stop, by our defense here at this one. So the emphasis has been, going back and evaluating the calls that we made in those situations, the execution of those calls. So first of all, it's making sure we're in the right call. And there's obviously things you go through. It's like, hey, maybe we should have done this, should have done that, called this, called that. And then we got to make sure that in those, whatever we do call, is that there's 100% execution of that call, no matter what they do. Something we haven't seen before, something we did have seen in the past. The concept that they ran on that last one was something they had done previously in the game. And so just still, but it's always a little things too leading up to it. We could have a chance to get a sack. on that third down. That led up to the 4th and 3 conversion, which would have made it 4th and 10, which is a totally different call. So it's a series of plays, series of efforts. We missed some tackles in that last drive. And, it's making sure we're getting our best players on the field and making sure the calls that we make, our guys execute at a very, very high level. So obviously we've not done that. And really, it's been unbelievably frustrating and disappointing. But at the same time, we got one more opportunity this year. We got to make sure it doesn't happen this week.
Seth and Daniel.
Obviously, personnel wise, Purdue is different than past years, but also obviously they changed over coaching staffs from the schools, the teams that you've played over the past several years. From what you've been able to see at Purdue so far, just what differences do you see from the way this team operates versus Purdue of past years?
Well, different offensive system, different defensive system. So schematically, quite a bit different. Obviously they've always thrown the ball well. They're running the ball really well lately. Last 2 games in a row, they've been over 300 yards rushing, which is very impressive. They got 2 talented running backs and their O-line's being very effective in what they're doing. They have made adjustments throughout the season. They got a very talented quarterback, which has been consistent. Since I've been here, they've always had a good quarterback. And so Hudson Card's a very, very talented player. And he can beat you with his legs, beat you with his arm. He's an elite, football player, in my opinion. And then defensively, the scheme, obviously, Coach Walters being a defensive guy and bringing that system that he ran at Illinois so well there. And they do a really good job in a lot of those areas. So definitely a lot of changes in personnel as well. And new team, but same bucket, and that's really what this is all about is getting back to bucket.
Daniel and Pete.
Yeah, Coach, I know you're kind of more of a naturally optimistic individual, but with the challenges of the last 3 years, kind of how do you remain positive and optimistic about the future of the program, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, to me, you have, continue to have some tough, close losses like we've had these last few weeks, and some tough last couple of seasons have not been what anybody wants here. And so, yeah, you just keep building. You don't, the very things you build this upon, you lean on that, the foundation of who you are and what you do, and you choose to find ways to keep making adjustments and finding a way to stay the course and continue to move forward and build. And that's where it's been frustrating because we haven't seen the growth and the fruit of some of those things, but there's also a principle of that you don't grow weary in doing things the right way. And if you just stay the course, you'll reap a harvest if you don't give up. And so we're going to continue to make adjustments, continue to adapt to the new, the new landscape of college football is dramatically different. Matter of fact, so I was there, pregame. Coach D'Antoni was out there with their staff now, with their situation there at Michigan State. And first word out of his mouth was, "Man, has this thing changed in the last 3 years since the last time he coached?" And I said, we both agreed it's a dramatic difference. And so you have to build things differently. You have to adapt to those changes, and we have to adapt as a program and as a university for these changes. And so you got to continue to work towards that, to that end. And to me, I said this before, I'll keep saying it, I'm not positive because life's easy and everything works out for you. I remain positive because life's hard and sometimes life's not fair. And we experienced that on Saturday, and you got to find a way to just stay the course. You have a great foundation that you believe in, you build off of, and you don't waver from that, but you just battle and you fight and you just claw and fight and scratch to continue to build what you want to build. And so we got to keep getting better, and we got a great opportunity this week to be able to get some momentum for the offseason.
Pete and Ken.
Hey, Tom, when you look at the schedule this week with Thanksgiving and everything, how do you manage that? How do you handle, with Thanksgiving dinner and stuff like that? How do you approach that?
Yeah, so we've done different ways here, and our guys, kind of lean on them to what they really enjoy the most and feel the best is for them. And so we found that we like to be able to, instead of having a huge Thanksgiving meal together as a team, we've done that in the past. The guys would rather have a chance to go and be in someone's home, either coach's home. Some players that live close enough, they're going to go home and take teammates with them. And we have a process we go through that we make sure that every single one of our players has a home to go to for have a Thanksgiving meal, whether it's my house or a coach's house or one of their teammates' houses or their own house, if they live close enough to drive there. So we let them, give our guys a little extra hour of sleep each day on Tuesday and Wednesday, start a little bit later each one of those days. be a normal schedule on a Thursday, and then have a practice on Thursday morning and let them go home and be with their families and wherever they're going to be for Thanksgiving meal that afternoon and evening, and then come back on Friday morning. We'll have our walkthrough, and then we'll get on the bus and head to West Lafayette. So Thursday's the one day that's different. And like I said, our philosophy is I want them to be in somebody's home, having a Thanksgiving meal with either their own family or the family of a coach or a friend, teammate.
Ken, then Matt.
Coach, you've had some very difficult losses over the past couple of weeks, and obviously they've been incredibly hard to swallow for the coaching staff and the players. What have you seen from the players in terms of their attitude when they're bouncing back from these losses, and how do you keep them battling despite not being rewarded with a win in a lot of those close games?
Yeah, that's the challenge. That's what's really, really hard about this, And so what I did this weekend was talk a little bit about the game. And some things that we, feel like we needed to do better to give ourselves the chance to win, and then moved right on to Purdue and the bucket. And so really became what's next. It's kind of that. And that's kind of been the focus all along is we try to correct things, but we get ready for the next one. And then to try to teach them about that's how life has to be as well. Something really, really tough happens, maybe something that you cause, sometimes things that you don't cause, and sometimes unfair things happen. Well, the response to that is really the key. So we're just training them for that and talk them through the mindset that it takes to do that and how you approach that. How do you go about that? And it can be harder as every more difficult thing you experience keeps coming your way, to stay true to what you believe in. But at the same time, even though it gets tested and gets tried, we call this, the fires and the trials of life. Sometimes those have a way of strengthening us if you respond the correct way. And they build a resiliency and a toughness and a grit and a fight that only difficulties can build. And so we just never stop talking about that. But it is about what's next and focus on what's in front of us and not what's behind us, and not dwelling on the past, learning from it and pressing on. That, to me, that's the approach, and that's what we're going to do again this week.
Matt and Bob.
Hey, Coach, I want to ask about recruiting and how, obviously, you mentioned changes in college football. Obviously, one of the biggest ones is the portal over the last couple of years. How you balance that with trying to sign a traditional recruiting class and then also going into the portal when a lot of times when you're signing your class, you may not know exactly what you need from the portal. I mean, how do you kind of balance that when you're kind of, in an unknown area as far as what you need?
Yeah, I would say that's definitely the challenge. You can, in the past, you had a very clear picture of what you were going after this time of the year. Now, well, we'll say this, a big focus for us is going to be with this team. We have quite a few guys that have more eligibility, even though they may be even a guy that was, a senior here or has graduated, and so I think there's a lot of guys we want to focus on continuing to retain on our team. And we got a lot of good football players that have, time in front of them to play. And so that's going to be the focus. And then once you kind of go through that, and you'll kind of know what you are, where your needs are. We got a strong high school class that's going to be coming in here. I still believe you have to have that foundation. We're a developmental program here. And we've got, close to 20 guys that are committed to us. We're expecting to sign, here in December, and guys are going to come here. Many guys of that group, I believe, can come in here and help us right away as well, because there's a lot of talented guys in that group. So I'm excited about the group that we've assembled. So we got to have that as our core, and then we're going to use the portal to, and I see us probably having less portal additions just because of the number of guys returning on our team. We have a lot of guys back for next year, and that excites me as well. So just got to do a great job of filtering through that process as we go through. The NCAA has created its timetable now for the Monday through Thursday after the regular season ends is now a dead period where we spend time meeting with our current players, and then we'll kind of know where we're at from there. And I get it, it's part of the new landscape that we have, and guys will make decisions, and they got to choose and do what's best for them. And it's a mutual decision-making process that we'll go through with them. So yeah, it's definitely different than it's ever been before. And every year it's a little bit more modified, but you got to adapt to that, and you got to figure out where you're at, what your needs are. But we're going to have a good, strong high school nucleus that we'll bring in, and then we'll fill in the needs with the portal once we know what those exactly are.
Bob, last one.
Tom, you mentioned speaking with Mark D'Antonio about the changes in football the last couple of years. I'm curious, is there a larger, maybe systemic reason why it's been difficult to maintain success at Indiana? I mean, you've had good seasons, you've had challenging seasons. Is there anything about Indiana, or is it just more difficult now given the circumstances of college football?
Well, I think there's a real reality that you have to adapt to the changes as a program, as a university, and sometimes those adaptations are slower than they need to be. And the bottom line is you can just see the trajectory of where we were going, prior to the changes and as things are right now. And so the bottom line is that the way the rosters are built now is different than it used to be. And the NIL piece is the biggest component that has made the biggest difference. And so we have to embrace that in a full-fledged way and in a more aggressive way. And that's just bottom line, being truthful. And that's a case for everybody. Everybody's in the same situation. And especially as you think moving forward with the new Big Ten, what we're about to get into with adding 4 football teams that are very, very talented and very, very rich in both resources and what they expect to be able to do on game day. So bottom line is that we have to adapt to that. We have to step up to that. We have to make some obvious changes to that. And when you don't, you get run over. And that's the bottom line is we got to be able to, and just talking to Coach Antonio, it's very obvious what's going on. And you have to be able to make those adjustments. And to me, we have to step up in that area. And we got to do a great job of helping retain our current roster and go out and building and adding the pieces that are going to give you a chance. At the end of the day, as I learned this a long time ago, we're a lot smarter coaches. We got, the right players that fit with us and can help us have the talent to be able to help us do elite things and do great things. And so we got to be able to develop those guys here. And that's the challenge is you got to be able to still bring guys in, develop them, and still be able to have the kind of team you have to be able to beat, the quality of the teams we play each week. So definitely got more challenging than ever. But we at a place like this have to adapt to the new rules that we play by and the way that things are structured now.
If I can follow up real quick, is there anything that you can do or have done to make those adaptations, take hold? I mean, why?
I feel like I want to be as aggressive as I can be with our alumni and boosters, and just being able to get in front of them and help them see the direction that these things are going and what we need to do to be able to help us to make these changes. Because the bottom line is that it's all in front of us. We have to be able to adapt, and it's hard. There's no question, because it's different than it's been in the past. And sometimes it's a different way of doing things. And some people even, like or agree with. And I just think that it's a matter of, because at the end of the day, you still got to build. And that's what I was talking to Coach Antonio about. You still got to build the best team. The best team wins on game day. And yes, you have to have the players to do that, but they also have to be a team that plays for each other and has, it's still a team sport. We got 125 guys on our roster. That's a lot of players, a lot of people coming together to be able to do that. So that component hasn't left us, but still you have to do a great job of having the roster talent and the roster depth to be able to play a tough schedule every single week. You got to come back. You got to do it again and again and again. And things happen in the course of the season. So that's why depth is such a big deal. And getting, the right players here is the best deal. We're doing the best we can to be able to continue to grow that. And I love our guys here. And we have got, like I said, we got a lot of guys I want to retain here that I feel like have a chance to keep developing. And we see some growth in some key spots on our team. And I want to continue to do that, but we got to keep them here because, that's the other thing that gets to be, other people are trying to take your guys from you, and take your players when they start to grow and have some success at places where they feel like they can do that because they can maybe be able to, outbid you for a guy. And so the bottom line is that's all part of the new world we live in, which is totally different than it was a few years ago.
Thank you,
Appreciate it, guys. Have a great day. Elio.
We'll have Rod next.